Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Girl in the Woods. Episode 10. Chapter 85 to 93. Chapter 85. I was staring at the blank wall, fighting with my mind. Sarah, Luke said in a gentle voice after some time. I looked at him. He looked exhausted. He should be on a bed, resting, isn't he? Yet, he is here in my tiny room with me, trying to cover up for the person he loves most. What a selfless and committed love it is. However, he should not get a burden for us. This problem is between me and Jake. We are the people who should take responsibility and solve it. Luke. I think you must go home now. I said. No. I want to tell you everything, Sarah. I want to clear this misunderstanding. I want you two to be happy together. He replied. I know that, Luke. I know you really mean it, and I know how much you love both of us. But I think it should be Jake, not anyone else who should give me an explanation for all of this. All these problems happened because he didn't trust me enough to share these with me. I said in a determined voice. But Sarah. As I said, he can't come now. I can't let you two suffer like this until he comes and give you the deserved explanation, he said. I can understand what you are trying to say. But, Luke, I am certain about this. If he takes a week or a month to come back and talk to me, then let it be like that. I want to hear everything from him, just from him. I stated. I don't know how to explain this to you, Sarah, Luke said worriedly. You don't have to explain anything to me, Luke. You look utterly exhausted. I want you to go home now and take a good rest. Anyway, I need some alone time too. I said. Are you sure about that, Sarah? You don't look like you enjoyed the alone time you already had. If you don't want to listen to me, that's okay. At least let me get you something to eat. He said, looking at my face. I smiled weakly. I know I look like a total mess. But I will take a wash and eat something, I promise. Now go home like a good boy and take some rest. You are still not fully recovered, Luke, I insisted. Okay then, I will go, but please at least switch on your phone. Can you do that for me, Sarah? He asked in a pleading voice. Okay, Luke, I will switch on it, I promise. My promises are not like those false promises Jake made. I said. Actually, the last part just slipped through my tongue. Luke gave me a worrying look. It hurt me a lot when you talk about him in this way, Sarah. He doesn't deserve these. I hope you realize it soon, he said in a heavy voice, and he left my room, closing the door behind him. For a moment, I couldn't figure out what to do. Then I thought of going after him. He came all this way without even thinking about his own health. I have no right to hurt him. So I opened the door to follow him, but he was already in the downstairs by then. Are you feeling all right, Luke? You look worn. I heard Shane said. His voice was filled with concern. Without going downstairs, I stopped. I could see both of them from here. I am a bit tired, that's all, Luke replied, smiling. Where are you going now? If you want, I can drive you anywhere you want. Shane offered. I felt really bad about my brother. He loves Luke so much. But will he be able to get any positive response from Luke when he is totally, madly in love with Jake? If you can, that's really great, Luke said, making me surprised. I think it is not just me who got surprised. I could see how Shane's face also changed with surprise. Then they both left the house. It seems like Luke's attitude towards Shane has changed after the terrible incident he had to go through. Otherwise, he would never agree to let Shane drive him. Maybe Luke would grow feelings towards Shane one day, then they will be able to have a happy life together. I took a wash and changed clothes. When I came back to my room, I remembered I promised Luke that I will switch on my phone. So I connected it to the charger and switched on. Without waiting to check the phone, I went to the kitchen to prepare something to eat. I was going to open the refrigerator to get some milk first because I was feeling starved. There was a small note stuck to the refrigerator door. "I have kept some food for you, Shane," the note said. Is this a note for me? Well, both Mom and Dad were not at home. So it must be for me, right? I opened the door quickly and found a plate full of cheesy pasta with roasted chicken. Without bothering to heat it, I took a fork and tasted it. God! It was delicious, just the way I love it. Never even in my most unusual dreams, I expected Shane to give me this kind of a surprise. He had never prepared any food for me, not even a coffee. I was still not sure if this is for me or not. If it is not for me, I would have to go through hell if I eat it now. Holding the plate, I was thinking about what should I do now. I can worry about that later. I put the plate in the microwave and heat it. I didn't even know Shane can cook this well. The pasta was exactly like how I like it. I wonder how he knows about my preferences. Usually, he doesn't even care if I eat or not. Most of the time, he preferred to keep me starving. He sometimes put all the food to the dustbin without letting me eat. It is truly a miracle how much he has changed after Luke's incident. Shane has started to act more compassionate and humane after all. I went back to my room after eating. I heard my phone was vibrating. I had put it to vibrate when I was in the function. I felt like my heart stopped when I see the caller ID. It was from Jake. I know, I said I need an explanation from Jake. But it must be in person, not over the phone. So I didn't answer the call. After his call cut, I saw the list of notifications on my screen. My God! There were 68 missed calls and 122 messages. With shaking fingers, I picked up the phone and opened the notifications. There were many calls from Mr. Patterson, Luke, and Jake. Then I opened the messages. Mr. Patterson has sent me 3 messages. 15 messages from Luke and all the rest of the texts were from Jake. I sent a message to Mr. Patterson saying I am doing fine and asking him not to be worried. He has done so much for me, so I owed him that. I went through the messages Luke sent me. All of them were asking me where am I, why my phone is not working, and asking me to call him right away. Then I opened the message thread sent by Jake. There were loads of texts, and I don't even know I want to read them or not. I don't think anything he said over a message could make my heart any more. I remembered how eagerly I was waiting for him to text me in the past. His texts gave me a reason to smile and feel confident even before I know it was him who sent those texts. I sighed, thinking about how much time has changed everything. I wanted to put the phone aside without reading any of his texts. But do you think I can make my mind up to that? I started reading his texts. Sarah. I beg you, please trust me. None of these are real, all these are just a drama, it was his first text. You have all the right to hate me, princess. But promise me, you won't do anything that you would regret. Sarah, it is okay if you don't reply to me. I deserve it. But stay away from that jerk, Andrew. He just wants to steal you from me. Don't let him do that, princess. Where are you, princess? Please, answer the phone, please, send me a text saying you are doing fine. Don't hurt me like this, princess. You know how much I love you and how much I care about you. If anything happens to you, I will kill that and kill myself too. There were so many other messages like these. Each and every text simply explained how much he suffered. I didn't even feel time pass while reading his texts. When I finished reading all of his messages, I started to reread them. After reading them for the third time, I opened the photo gallery and started looking at his photos. I was smiling like crazy, looking at some of his photos. I was sighing and crying, looking at some of his other photos. While I was spending time like a total IT, my phone rang. This time it was Luke. I answered the phone. Sarah, I could barely hear his voice. Luke, are you okay? I asked panicked. Sarah. I am not feeling well, he managed to say. What? Luke, should I call the doctor? No. Shane also went to practices, can you please come over to my place? Luke, you sound so unwell. I must call the doctor, I said scaredly. No. I have medicine. Can you come? He asked again. Yes. Yes. I can. Give me 10 minutes. Call me anytime if you need it, okay? I said. I don't know how I managed to get dressed that fast. Within like 5 minutes, I was in a taxi to go to Luke's place. It was getting darker, though it was still 6 in the evening. I think it is going to rain pretty soon. I tried to call him, but his phone went straight to the voicemail. This made me go crazy. Go faster! I yelled at the driver and got scolded too. I didn't know if I should call Shane. But if he is at the practice, there is no point in calling him. When I got down near his house, it was in the complete darkness. Why he hasn't switched on any lights? I went to his front door and rang the doorbell. But there was no response. Fortunately, I remembered to bring the spare key I had. I opened the door and entered. Luke, screaming his name, I switched on the lights with the aid of my phone light. Luke! I screamed again. But there was no response at all. The whole house was in grave silence. This made me so much scared that I don't even have words to explain the feelings I had. Something has happened to him. I was so stupid to not call the doctor in the first place. He was not fully recovered. He looked utterly exhausted when he visited me, as well. Luke, screaming his name, I ran towards his bedroom. I didn't even remember to switch on the other lights. Holding my phone's flashlight, I ran. Please, God! Don't let anything happen to him. Please protect him. When I was about to enter his room, someone suddenly pulled me to himself. What the? I screamed. Chapter 86, I couldn't see anything well in the darkness. I just had the flashlight of my phone to lighten up my way. But that was not my concern. I was frightened, thinking about what has happened to Luke. When he called me, he was not well at all. His phone is not working either. All the possibilities of bad things that could happen begun to load up in my mind. Praying God to protect him, I managed to reach his bedroom. Luke, screaming his name, I entered his room. All of a sudden someone pulled me to himself, making me scream. What the? But I stopped what I was going to scream with the familiar cologne smell that filled up my nostrils. I was getting the warm touch that always tickles my heart. Jake! I yelled involuntarily. Then the light was on, and my favorite handsome face was right in front of me. Princess, he said with a weak smile. What is this, Jake? Is this a joke to you? I yelled. Nothing about you is a joke for me, Sarah, he said gently. Then what is this? Where is Luke? I yelled at him again. He is at his cousin's house, sound and safe. I thought you won't come to meet me if I ask you because you didn't answer any of my calls. So Luke came up with this whole idea, he said apologetically. For both of you, I am just a joke, nothing more than that. You always play with my emotions. Do you know how scared I got? I was feeling like my heart was going to stop. I screamed. I was furious. This is not a time to a joke like this. We were not in a position to do something utterly stupid like this. That moment, I was hating both of them with all I had. I am so sorry, Princess. We didn't think much, he apologized. His face was just an inch or two away from mine. I could see all the pain, regret, and despair that were filled in his eyes. Now only I actually clearly look at his face. He looked exhausted. His eyes were turned to red. His lips were cracked like he hasn't anything to drink for hours. It felt so hard to look at his face anymore. I hate to see him helpless like this. You never think much about anything, Jake, that's the problem we are having. Now release me, I said, taking my eyes away from his face and trying to escape from his hold. But it made him harden his grip around me. Please, Princess. I beg you. Let me hold you like this for some more time, he begged. Are you insane, Jake? Let me go. I yelled at him and tried to get away from him. Even though he looked exhausted and weak, he was still stronger than me. His arms were tightly wrapped around my waist, gluing me to him. You have no idea how I spent the past few hours, Sarah. It was like getting stabbed right on my heart over and over again. It is just now when I have you in my arms, I feel that I have not died. When I feel your warm breath on my face, I feel that I am alive, so please, let me hold you a bit more, he said. Why, didn't you feel alive when you were holding your beautiful, rich future wife and kissing her lips? I asked sarcastically. He looked right into my eyes, and the unbearable pain that was flashed on his eyes was hard to miss. He released his grip on my waist, letting out a long sigh. I am not asking you to stop hurting me like this, Princess, because I deserve this. But I want to correct my mistake at least now. I want to tell you everything, can you just give me one chance, he asked. Can you stand it when the person you love most, begging for something? Well, I found it super hard to even see him pleading in front of me. I am ready to listen, Jake, I said. He smiled weakly. Let's go down to the living room. This is going to take a long time, he said. I nodded. Then we both walked back to the living room. I sat on the sofa. Do you want anything to drink? He asked. I didn't want anything else other than listening to his confession, but then I remembered his lips. It seems like he didn't have anything to drink for a long time. I will make some coffee, I said, standing up. No, you sit here. I will get you some coffee, he said, walking towards the kitchen. Without saying anything, I sat back. After a few minutes, he came with 2 coffee cups. Then he sat in front of me and stared at my face for a few seconds. You are truly an angel, Sarah. I didn't think you would even let me talk to you like this, he said softly. I am not an angel, Jake. But I have suffered enough in my life. I am not ready to give up my only happiness without a fight. I said. He stared at my face again for a few seconds, then he started talking. My dad inherited a successful business from his family. He is also very good at doing business, and he could take our business to the top profitable level. But he always thought other than that, he has a responsibility towards his country. He always wanted to bring a change in people's lives. That's the main reason he came to politics. He is an honest politician who is willing to spend his own money on people. So he could easily climb up the political ladder and gain recognition. But his growing fame drawn many opponents to him. You know how hard it is for an honest man to work clean in a cruel society that is filled with fake people. So he tried to keep us away from his political life as much as possible. He actually hid information about his family. I know you already know about my connection to Andrew. Andrew's father, Ronald, was working with my dad in our businesses. He even came to politics with my father's influence. Their family and our family were so close, we always took care of each other. Actually, my father trusted Uncle Ronald with his life. But later on, there was a big fraud in our business that led to a massive loss. My dad found out it was Uncle Ronald behind all these. My dad was furious, he wanted to take legal actions against him, but he loved Aunt Liz, Andrew's mom, very much. Therefore, without bringing him in front of the law, he just asked Uncle Ronald to stay away from all of my dad's businesses. Dad stopped supporting the uncle's political career as well. But other than our family members, no one even got to know about his dirty work because my dad kept it a secret. Anyway, instead of regretting his wrongdoing, Uncle Ronald started resenting my dad. He kind of became my dad's top enemy. Since he knew everything about our family, he was dangerous than all the other people. During this time, Andrew's girlfriend faced that accident and got killed. Uncle Ronald took the maximum out of this incident and turned Andrew against us. He could make Andrew believe that it was my dad and me who was behind that accident. No matter how hard my dad, mom, and I tried to convince Andrew that we have no connection to this accident, it was useless. This incident worsened all our problems. However, with that incident, my dad wanted both my mom and me to be extra careful. He even put bodyguards and detectives to protect us. But none of those could save my mom from that tragic accident. It was such a horrible incident, Sarah. We thought we would lose my mom. My dad got all the best doctors to treat her. They could save her life, but she became disabled forever. I didn't even know how I went through those few days. I was like a dead man. This is like the first time he openly talks with me about his family and his feelings towards them. It was obvious how much he had suffered because of his mom's accident. Mom's accident was not just a random one, it was well planned by my dad's rivals. This made my dad terrified. He even considered stopping me from going to high school, just to protect me. But Mom was against that. She insisted that I should have a regular life like any other teenager. Finally, Dad agreed to that, but with a lot of conditions. He wanted me to minimize my outside relationships as much as possible. So I had to stop seeing my friends if it is not essential. He increased the number of bodyguards and detectives. They came wherever I go. Fortunately, they were all in just casual attire, and no one could recognize them as my bodyguards. But I didn't have any privacy to do anything I want. I didn't care much about my safety or anything until Mom's accident. But after that, I was afraid that the threat I am facing will affect the people around me as well. I even reduced my contacts with Luke. It was a short while after I saw you for the first time, and I was dreaming about you all the time. But unfortunately, I had no chance of telling you about my feelings. In that type of situation, I didn't want to make you in trouble because of me. On the other hand, I knew how complicated my family really is, and I didn't want an innocent, cheerful girl like you to get trapped in such complexity. I knew one day, my family would bring tears to your eyes." He was talking without any break. After that, he explained how hard it was for him to keep his feelings to himself without expressing them to me. Then, as Luke also said to me, he told me what happened when he first saw me at the university. He explained everything until the point when he decided to make me his life no matter what happened afterward. During this part of his confession, actually, it was emotions more than the facts that touched my heart. My father declared that he is going to run for the next presidential election. Everyone predicts that he will be our next president. So I thought all of these problems of living in fear would be ended after he becomes the president. That's why I always asked you to give me some time to tell you everything. I never wanted to lie to you about my family, Sarah. I wanted to tell you everything about my family every day. But I was afraid. I was afraid you would get depressed, knowing the gravity of the danger I am facing. On the other hand, I was afraid that you would leave me after knowing about my family," he said, without taking his eyes off me. "Sure, I am worried about you more than ever now. Even if you go out of my sight for a minute, I would be worried about you. But now I can do something, anything, that can protect you, or at least I can try my best to keep you away from the danger because I am aware of it now," I said. "About the other thing you said, you are so stupid to even think of that, Jake. Your family is indeed too sophisticated and too high class for a girl like me to handle. It makes me shiver to even think of dating a guy from such a high class family. But I know about you. I know how humble and down to the earth type of person you are. If you are sure that you are ready to spend your life with me, then I am willing for that too. I am not afraid of your family until you are with me. I am stronger than you think, Jake," I said. "That's what I said, Sarah. If I tell you everything about my family on the first day we started our relationship, would you think the same way?" he asked. His words made me think about it. No matter how much I hate him for hiding about his family from me, his logic is also right. You got comfortable with me, and you got to know about how much I love and care about you. So now you are not afraid of my family because you can trust me. You aren't even able to talk to me like this if you know about my family before you got to know me this much," he said because I was silent. "Okay. Let's say you had valid reasons to hide your family from me," I was saying, but he interrupted me. "Why you tell like that, Sarah? Don't you truly feel I had valid reasons?" he asked in a worried voice. I felt so bad about him. If I was in the same situation as him, maybe I would act the same way. We sometimes do things we hate just to make sure our loved ones are safe and happy. Didn't I agree to go with Mr. Patterson to a party to protect my loved ones? It isn't a smart move either. Okay, let me put it this way. I know you had valid reasons for that. I can totally understand you. But I want to know what is the valid reason you have for what happened at the function, Jake, I said, looking at his eyes. Chapter 87. I think he has fair and valid reasons to hide the details of his family from me for all this time. But I need to know what are the reasons he had to hide that his dad proposed him to another girl. I wanted to know what are the reasons he had to kiss another girl like that. He knew it for some time, maybe for a long time, who knows. He didn't even show any hint of it either. It is so close to the presidential election now. So the problems, especially the threats we have, got serious day by day. My dad has a clear win in this election. So the opposition party knows that they can't fight with Dad fairly and ethically. Therefore, they are willing to do any evil thing to defeat Dad. They even planted a bomb in Dad's personal secretary's car. Fortunately, he had to get down from the car to buy a gift for his kid. His car exploded out in front of that shop with his driver inside it, he said. I remembered that incident. It was all over the news in those days. Uncle Ronald is supporting the opposition party. That is the main concern Dad is having because he knows everything about Dad and our family. However, things got much worse after Aunt Liz's funeral. She was the one who always stood between Dad and Uncle Ronald. After her death, Uncle Ronald lost the last bit of humanity he had within himself. So Dad needed some strong support and protection. The current president is from a very strong political background. His family is like the most powerful family in the country. No one really dares to go against them. He was already supporting Dad, but Dad needed something more than his support. He thought beginning a relationship with the current president's family would give him the strong ground he required. What? That is ridiculous. This is the 21st century, Jake. It was when the kings were ruling the countries, they did things like this to extend their power. How your dad takes decisions like we are still in that era. Without letting him continue what he was telling, I yelled. I was furious. How his dad could take such a decision regarding Jake's future for the sake of becoming the president. Doesn't he value his son's emotions and his preferences? Gaining power is much more important than his own son's life. Please, don't get him wrong, Sarah, he said in a broken voice. What is there to get wrong, Jake? Don't you think your dad should value your feelings and your preferences over gaining power? I don't really know what kind of a president he is going to be if he treats his own son this way, I said. I totally understand what you are saying, Sarah. It is reasonable and fair for you to think like that because you don't know much about my dad. Who is to blame for that, Jake? I didn't even know he is your father until the day before yesterday, so was there a way for me to know him better? I asked angrily. I know that I just said I accept he had valid reasons to hide his family from me, but it made me furious even to think that Jake also accept what his dad did was right. I know, Sarah. If there is anyone to be blamed, that is me. It is my fault that you don't understand my dad, he said, sadly looking at my face. I didn't say anything. Though I wanted to blame him more, the look in his eyes made me shut my mouth. As I said, he came to politics not to gain wealth or power, Sarah. He already had both. He truly wanted to develop this country and make a positive change in people's lives. I know you don't follow politics much, but this time the presidential election is crucial for our country. Because of the recent discovery of oil in parts of our country, the whole world is currently looking at us. This is going to be the opportunity our country was looking for all these years. If we manage this properly, we can easily become one of the most developed countries in the world. But if we are unable to manage this, we could even lose what we currently have. The candidate from the opposition is not capable of managing this situation at all. He is such a corrupted politician, though people not much aware of that. So Dad really wants to win this time for the sake of our country. I too strongly believe he is the one who capable of that. On the other hand, if Dad loses in any case, our family also becomes unsafe than ever before. When he continues explaining, it made me realize that there is this big picture I was not aware of. Though he explained it simply, the real situation must be really tough and complicated. The opposition now even tries to dig up Lily's accident and attach Dad's name to it. With all these troubles, winning this election is getting harder and much needed. That's why Dad thought he wanted strong support. But he never forced me to do anything, Sarah. He is not that type of a man, he said. So you willingly agreed to sacrifice our love for the betterment of your family and the country. So now I should just wish you good luck with your new love and go away from you, is that what am I supposed to do, Jake? I cried. I know I am being ridiculous and childish. But what can I do? How can I even think that he agreed to marry another girl with his own will? Can you imagine how much it hurts? I always experienced how people chose better options over me in my whole life, I am used to it. But not with Jake. The way he loves me and cares about me has taken me to a totally different world where I believed that he will never leave me for anything. Princess. Please, I beg you to listen to me first before imagining anything. He said lightly, holding my hand and placing a kiss. I pulled my hand away from him, looking at him with tearful eyes. Can you remember how I had to go to my parents' house all of a sudden after we got released from all our punishments? I was planning to celebrate our victory with you when my mom called me. She just said Dad needs me urgently for some of his work. But when I got there, my dad was hospitalized with a heart attack. He was even unconscious. Can you imagine how much I got worried about him? Mom and I spent the night in the hospital. During that time only she revealed to me about Dad's idea of proposing me to Marina. She said Dad had this idea for some time now, and they have discussed it with the current president as well. You know how much I got furious after hearing that? I scolded my mom for the first time in my life. I even asked her if they think that they can do anything with my life because they gave birth to me. First, she listened to everything I said without saying anything. Then she explained to me that they never want to force me for anything. She said it is totally up to me if want to marry Marina or not. As Dad and the current president have proposed, they just want to announce I am going to marry Marina soon, and it will create a relationship between our families. They just want me and Marina to pretend like we are lovers. What? Just to pretend like they are lovers. But the current president said that the engagement will be held pretty soon, I said, recalling the function. Yet. The engagement will be held soon, but it will be just a function, nothing legal would happen, he said assumingly. So you agreed, I said involuntarily. He was looking at me for a few seconds. I know I shouldn't agree to even for that, please forgive me. But at that time, I had no option. My parents were so vulnerable, and that was the first time they asked me any favor related to Dad's political career. Most especially with Dad's illness, I didn't want to go against him. Since this is just a drama, I thought there is no harm doing it. What about that girl, Jake? Did she agree to something like this? I asked jealously. She is indeed heavenly beautiful, but so is Jake. I don't think there would be any girl who will reject a guy like him. So what if she expects something more than just pretending? Who Marina? She is totally okay with this, Sarah. She is a different girl, he said. I don't know anything about her either, Jake. I heard about that good friend of your childhood only at the function, I said. Jake smiled weakly, looking at me. It was like he knew that I am feeling envious right now. She is not a good friend of mine, Sarah. I just know her. We had barely spoken with each other. Believe me, there were no good female friends in my whole life other than you, he said, making me ashamed of myself for acting so immature. I went to meet her the next day. First of all, I said to her about you, and I said to her that I can't even think of any girl other than you, he said, looking at my eyes. What you said to her about me? I screamed with surprise. Of course, princess. I told her. Do you think I will ever cheat on you? I didn't even want any mistake to happen, that's why I told her everything. I told her that I would never agree to even pretend something like this if my dad was not in such a status, She understood me very well, Sarah. Anyway, she is not willing to get married at all. She just wants to spend her life freely without any commitment. So it was such a relief for her too, because she didn't have to worry about this drama one day turning to a real one. I felt like I wanted to dig a pit and bury myself. I was ashamed of myself to that degree. How, even for a second, I thought my Jake cheated on me. He always asked me to trust him no matter what happened. From the very first day of our relationship, that is the only thing he asked me. But what did I do? The first time I got something to suspect him, I completely lost my trust in him. Though I thought he doesn't love me much, it seems like it is me who doesn't love him much. Otherwise, how could I think about him like that? I am not even worthy enough to be loved by someone like him. Chapter 88. I was blaming myself for acting so stupid and childish. I should have trusted him way more than this. Sarah, with his voice, I came back to presence. He was looking at my face with a worried look on his eyes. I know you are annoyed at me, and you can't still forgive me. I totally get it. I should have told you everything before you get to know them in a hurtful way like that, he said sadly. Yes, you should have told me, Jake, much earlier. I am annoyed, that is also true. But I am annoyed at myself more than with you. I wanted to tell you everything after I decided to go with this fake proposal thing. I even called you to tell you everything. Can you remember one day I called you at midnight? He asked. Yes, I remember that. He called me when I was sleeping. I was anyway expecting him to call me just to hear his voice. I was missing him so much. So when he called, I was so happy. He even said to me that he has to tell me something, but then he said he will tell me after he meets me. At that time, I didn't think about it much because for me hearing his voice was enough. I didn't know how to start explaining you everything, Sarah, he began speaking since I was silent. Since you didn't know anything about my family, I had to tell you about them before telling you about that proposal thing. I didn't know how to start or where to start. I was afraid of how you will react when I tell you. I was far away from you, so I couldn't even comfort you if you get upset. So I thought I should tell you everything when I meet you in person. I thought I should reveal all the truth to you when I can hold your hand and cuddle you to my chest, he said. Didn't you think if I got to know about this somehow, how I would feel? I asked. I don't want to lie, Sarah. That never even came to my mind. I never thought you will find out about anything before I tell you. He said worriedly. I chuckled. Because I am a poor girl from a low-class family, you thought I have no way of finding what is going on in the most powerful family in the country. I said. Don't say like that, princess, he said sadly. I know you didn't mean it in the exact words, Jake. But both of us know, that's what you basically felt. I said. He released a long sigh. It was the most stupid decision I have ever taken in my life, Sarah. I was planning to come here in the morning after the party. So I thought I should ask you to meet me and tell you everything that day itself. Then why didn't you come, Jake? You took 2 days to come here. Even if you walk from there, you could have reached much earlier. I said. After you left the hotel with Andrew, I was feeling like I was going crazy. I couldn't even process what has happened. I tried to reach you a lot, but you didn't answer. However, in the meantime, Dad asked me to take him inside. When I took him to the hotel room, he got collapsed. I was so panicked. He was not fully recovered when he comes to the party. Doctors even asked me to cancel the party. But he insisted he should have the party. We had to take him to the hospital as soon as we could. God. My eyes widened with surprise. Doctors took my dad to the ICU. My mom was so shocked. She was also not in a position to handle things alone. So I had no way of leaving them. Even at the hospital, I tried to reach you a lot. I didn't know what I should do, Sarah. I was totally out of my mind. Doctors said they need to keep Dad unconscious for some time to give him complete rest. Mom was crying, and she was not even drinking anything. I knew you were so heartbroken and miserable. I didn't even know where are you or if you are safe. Can you imagine my status of mind at that time, Sarah? I talked with doctors and other people. I tried my best to comfort my mom. But deep inside me, I was bleeding. When you don't answer my calls even the next day, I called Andrew. But he refused to tell me anything about you. I begged him, Sarah. I begged him with all I have, asking him to tell me at least you are safe. But he just laughed at me. One time, I thought you are leaving me forever. Then I got frightened, thinking what if something has happened to you? What if Andrew did something to you? I still don't know how I didn't go totally mad. I called Luke and told him everything. He was at home, resting. I didn't want to bother him at all. But I didn't know what else to do. Sarah, Luke volunteered to come here and take care of you until I can leave my parents. I knew I shouldn't let him, but it was such a relief. He called me and informed that you are safe and at home. That was like the most comforting news I ever got in my life. But he also said to me that you refused to listen to anything he said. So right after my dad got conscious and he was transferred from the ICU, I left. He said. What? So your dad's still in the hospital? What about your mom? God. You shouldn't have left them like that, I yelled. He is still in the hospital, but he is getting better. Mom also seemed fine because of that. So I told them I have an urgent matter to attend and here I am. But I have to go back soon. I can't leave them alone for a long time, he said. God. Why Luke didn't tell me your dad is in ICU? If I knew I will never let you come here like this, Jake. I feel horrible for making you visit me in a situation like this. I said. I asked Luke not to tell anything. I didn't want to provide you more excuses. Don't feel bad about yourself, Sarah. If there is someone to be felt horrible, that should be me. Actually, I have no words to explain how much I feel bad about myself, especially because of that kiss, he said, looking down. KSS. I totally forgot about it. I closed my eyes tightly because I felt like I was again observing how their lips connected together. How he held her in his arms and how their faces were glowing. I could listen to the proposal. I could observe how you two danced together. I could endure how perfectly you two match. But when you kiss her. That was my break point, I said. He raised his head and looked at me with tear-filled eyes. I know, my beautiful princess. I know how you felt. But if you can please, believe me, kissing another girl hurt my heart than it has ever got hurt. I am willing to kiss the ground you are standing on, rather than kissing someone else, he said. Then why you did that, Jake? It was a suggestion from the current president. He said if we kiss that would make the whole thing much more realistic. Both I and Marina strongly objected to that. We said we can't have any physical contact. But he said if we want everyone to believe us, we need something drastic like that. Finally, we agreed. Even when I was kissing her, from my whole heart, I was thinking about you. Don't tell me you didn't enjoy it. She is divinely beautiful, and you are also a guy after all, you two were glowing with happiness. I didn't see any regret on your face, Jake. Jealousy overtook my sense of intelligence. He stared at my face a few seconds. She may be beautiful, Sarah. But I don't give a sh*t about that. For me, you are the most beautiful girl. I have seen many beautiful girls in my life, Sarah. Some of them were literally throwing themselves at me. But I have never felt any specialty towards any girl other than you. Indeed, I am also having needs like any other guy. I don't want to just kiss lips, I want so much more. I want to kiss every inch of her body, making her M0 my name. I want to touch her in a way that she will crave for my touch in every second of her life. But I don't want them from any other girl, Sarah. I want all those things from you. Only from you. If you don't want to give them to me, I prefer to stay away from all the girls rather than even trying to touch any other girl, he said, looking right into my eyes. His voice was so firm, and he clearly meant every word he said. His words along with his piercing look made me shiver. Without even knowing, I was replaying that night at this same house with him. Sarah, with his voice, I panicked looked at him. I have told you everything now. There are no more secrets. Please tell me, if there is a chance you will consider forgiving me for everything I did, he asked in a pleading voice. What can I say? I know he should not hide anything from me, but that doesn't mean he doesn't love me. He loves me. Even more than I can imagine. If you can't forgive a person you love, then what is the purpose of your love? Jake. You know how miserable my life was. There was not even a single day I didn't cry. But after you entered my life, everything got changed. You brought love and happiness to my life. Because of you, everything around me changed for my good. I was afraid that I will lose you, that's what made me even angrier. I have no life without you, Jake. You are my everything. I can forgive you, and I am forgiving you, I said, looking at his eyes. Princess, in an eye blink he was on his knees in front of me. Without even knowing, that made me stood up from where I was sitting. His eyes were again filled with tears. But his face was glowing. I have to make a request, Princess, he said, looking at me and treating me with his signature smile. Chapter 89, he was kneeling down in front of me, looking at me with his beaming eyes. God! He looks so handsome. The exhaustion, sadness that was dominating on his face was now nowhere to be found. It is so remarkable how one word from me changed his mood this quickly. I don't want to just kiss lips, I want so much more. I want to kiss every inch of her body, making her M0 my name. I want to touch her in a way that she will crave for my touch in every second of her life. But I don't want them from any other girl, Sarah. I want all those things from you. Only from you, his words were echoing in my mind, sending an unknown shiver down my spine. I can't even believe that a guy as handsome as he loves me this much. I have to make a request, Princess, he said, dragging me away from my thoughts. A request? What is it? I couldn't even think, but it made my heart beat faster. I think even he could hear it. I will have an engagement with Marina, though it is just a pretending. Since I decided that I should make you mine, I dreamt of getting engaged to you, not to anyone else. So the day I had to agree for this fake engagement thing, I decide this. He said, looking at my eyes. It was even difficult for me to breathe with excitement. God! What is he going to request? That day itself, I ordered this, he said, putting his hand to his trouser pocket. Before I am getting fake engaged to anyone else, I want to get my real engagement with you, he said, opening a small jewelry box. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! I know I am not perfect. You may go through a lot of trouble because of me. There may be times I am unable to be with you and comfort you. But I can promise you this. It was you, it is you, and it will always be you. I love you with all I have, and there is no limit or conditions to that. I will do everything and more to keep you safe and happy. Will you marry me, princess? Opening that jewel box and showing me the ring inside, he asked. My heart stopped. I was not even breathing. This must be a dream. Yes. This must be a dream. I pinched myself to make sure. No, this is not a dream. He is still there, kneeling down in front of me, bearing a ring and asking me to marry him. I have imagined 1,000 times in my thoughts about the moment he proposes to me, and what my response should be. But when it really happens, I lost my ability to speak even. Tears started rolling down my eyes. I know, this is not the fairy tale engagement you wanted. But I want to do this. I want to bind myself to you. Then no matter how many fake engagements I have to go through, I will be always bound to you. Please, my beautiful princess. Tell me you want to marry me one day when all these stupid dramas are over, he said in a pleading voice. Who told you I want a fairy tale engagement? I have only one requirement related to my engagement. You know what it is, Jake? I asked. He looked at me with wide eyes and shook his head slightly. My only requirement is my engagement should be with you, not with anyone else, I said. The relief and excitement in his shining eyes grew even further. Yes. Jacob McMiller, I will marry you, I said. God. I really said that. His whole face was glowing. Have I ever seen him this happier? He took my hand in his and gently put the ring. Then he placed a kiss on my hand. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you so much, my princess, he whispered, still holding my hand to his face. Then he got up and stood in front of me. I don't have a ring for you, I murmured. He chuckled. Then he took another small box from his pocket and opened it. I knew you won't be carrying a ring for me, he said, smiling. I took the ring out of the box and put it on his finger. I love you so much too, Jake. You are my everything. Take your time and solve all the problems you have. I will be patient and trust you, I promise, I said. He took both of my hands in his and started rubbing my finger. He just put the ring on. Yes, Sarah. I need some more time. We are getting so close to the election. I hope everything will be fine after that. I don't really know how much more troubles we may have to go through before that. They are ready to do anything to defeat my dad. So I may have to do things to protect him. Your understanding and trust are crucial to me, but I promise I will make up to you for all of these things one day, he said softly. All the good things happen with patience, Jake. Let's wait and see, I said confidently. Yes. But I can't be patient to finish one thing that I started, he said, smiling playfully. Then he put his arms around my waist and pulled me towards him. My beautiful princess, are you ready to finish what we started that night in this very house? He whispered. My face must be looked like a ripened tomato, there is no doubt. Now we are engaged. So we have surely bound to each other. But I want to make you mine in every way that is possible. As I said, I need a lot of things from my fiancé. Will you give them to me, princess? He had his lips so close to mine, and I could even felt his warm breath on my face. What if I say I can't? I asked playfully. You can't, he seemed so surprised. If I tell you I want to wait till we get married, I said. It will drive me crazy, but I will respect your decision, my love. Everything that happens between us must be comfortable to both of us, he said. He sounds serious. I was just making fun, but it seems like he took it seriously. When I see the look in his face, I got an evil sensation of making fun out of him a little more. What if I say I can't, even after we are married? I asked playfully. He gave me a surprising look. I think he understood that I was just making fun. Really? If you say so, you know what I will do? He asked. What? I will push you to the bed and tie you down. Then I will remove all the clothes that cover you from my eyes. I will kiss and feel every inch of your perfect body until you beg me to make love. But I won't listen. You will M0an and beg with all you have. I will not give you what you want until I finish exploring all of your divine beauty, he said so seductively. My body started trembling. God! Stop, imagine that, you. So princess. The decision is yours. Do you want it that way or you prefer it this way? He asked, removing the first button of my blouse. His eyes were locked on mine. I couldn't resist his seductive voice or touch anymore. He is driving me crazy. My whole body was yearning. I locked my lips on his. Good choice, princess, he said, breaking the kiss. Then he attached his lips to mine more intensively. We were both kissing like it is the end of the world. He was rubbing my back with one of his hands while his other hand was squeezing me to him. His hand went down on my back. He cupped me through my jeans. Then he suddenly lifted me up. I fixed my legs around his waist. Without breaking the kiss, he started walking towards the bedroom, carrying me. He gently put me on the bed. Then he kneeled on the bed, putting his legs either side of my body. He kept staring at me for a few seconds. Then he started unbuttoning his shirt. I stopped him and started unbuttoning his shirt by myself. My fingers were shaking, so he had to help me from time to time. Then he completely removed his shirt and threw it away. He started kissing my lips once again. But this time he was not ready to stop from my lips. He started going down. His lips were tracing down my neck. God! This is so wonderful! While he was still kissing and sucking on my neck, leaving sure hickeys on my flesh, he started unbuttoning the rest of my blouse. Didn't he says he has to go to his parents soon? But now I don't think he is in a hurry at all. He is taking his time, exploring me. He removed his lips from me and stared at me. Then he tried to remove the blouse and I helped him. I had to get ready in a hurry, so I didn't have time to think of those. Anyway, I came to look after my sick friend, not to get engaged to my boyfriend. But I don't think about what I was wearing. He just wants to remove them all. His lips were exploring my shoulders. If you believe me or not, I have never watched any adult movies. Other than the few intense scenes in the normal movies I have watched, all the experience I have about making love is from books. I have read how deliciously they explain about making love. I knew it would feel good. But I have never thought it would be this amazing, and we have not even reached actual lovemaking yet. His lips. Those are indeed God-given gifts. He can make me out of this world with those lips. For the first time in my life, I am going to get naked in front of a guy. I am so happy and relieved because that guy is none other than my loving Jake. Andrew Patterson's POV. I tried to reach my angel a lot after dropping her home. But I couldn't. Her phone was switched off. In the afternoon, I got a message from her. That was a relief. I didn't try to disturb her after that. She needs rest after everything that happened. In the evening, I got the message that Jake is here. He is staying in Luke's house. I didn't think he will come at all because Uncle Victor is again in the hospital. After all, Jake is not ready to give up either. That is understandable. Who is willing to give up on a girl like her? I knew he will do something to make her meet him. That's why I stayed near her house, observing her moves. In the evening, she came out of the house in a hurry. I followed her. As I predicted, she went inside Luke's house. Luke is not at home. That means my angel is alone with that rascal. I was waiting and waiting. She was inside that house for a long time now. What is really happening there? Could he talks to her and wins her back? No, that is not possible. Her heart was fully broken. Then why she stays there this long? Is he doing something to my angel? Is he forcing himself on my angel when she rejected him and his lies? What should I do? Should I go inside and see? I can't let anything happen to my angel. Chapter 90, Princess. I woke up with someone kissing my face. I slowly opened my eyes to see my Jake hovering over me, kissing my face. With the sweetest touch of his lips, I recalled everything that happened last night. How we two explored an unknown territory of our love. How we were connected to each other mentally and physically, how we shared things that none of us have ever shared with anyone else. Raising my hand, I gently touched his face. "Good morning." When he felt that I was awake, he said, kissing my lips smoothly. How many times did he kiss my lips last night? Why do I crave it more and more now? God! His touch is so addictive. I don't think any drug in this world can be that addictive. He lifted his face from mine and stared at me. God! Sarah! You don't know how beautiful you look right now. I could just eat you, he said, chuckling and pinching both of my cheeks. I want nothing but waking up every morning to see this beautiful princess, he then whispered seductively. I too want nothing but waking up every morning and feel your warm lips on me, Jake, I replied in the same tone. Earlier, most of the time, I felt shy to say something like that to him directly. But since last night, I don't think I will feel shy in front of him at all. We have passed that line now. He has seen and explored me both mentally and physically. Then he slowly removed the sheet that was covering both of our bodies. He was totally naked. So was I. His eyes roamed all over my body. Then he lied down beside me and made me turn to him. His fingers started caressing my face gently. Then they moved. No matter how much dearly I got treated last night, they are still responding so promptly and happily to his touch. I have a little time left before I leave. Would you like to go for another round, princess? Breaking the kiss, he whispered. Another round? How many rounds we had last night, Jake? Don't you feel enough, Jake? I think we had too many rounds as the first timers. I am even feeling sore down there, I said, chuckling. His face changed a bit. I will never ever feel enough of this, Sarah. The more you give, the more I crave for. I asked you, princess, before each and every round, if you are okay to go. I didn't want to hurt you, no matter how much I want to have you. You know I think about your comfort and your preference more than anything, he said, gloomily. His eyes looked hurt. He took it seriously. Hey, babe, I caressed his face gently. I was just joking, why did you get it serious? Even I don't feel enough about having this wonderful adventure with you, I said, rubbing his bare chest and letting my hand go further down. You said you are feeling sore. I don't want to hurt you. he said, removing my hand. But I didn't say I don't want to do it, I said, putting one of my legs over his body. Then what about, he was trying to say. I kept my finger on his lips and made him silent. We are wasting the little time we have, I whispered. He smiled. That signature smile which always makes my heart beat faster. The next second, he was on top of me and kissing me like this the end of the world. After another heated yet romantic few minutes, we both went to the bathroom together. He applied body wash all over my body and rubbed gently. He was acting like he has all the time in the world. Taking his time with my body. Jake. You are going to be late, though I wanted him to continue this to the eternity, I told him. I can't act that irresponsible after all. His dad is still in the hospital. He looked at me sadly. I know, princess. But I want to remember every inch of you. I don't know when we will be able to get a time like this again, he said. He is right. Though we had such an amazing time together, we have a lot of challenges in our lives. We have to go back to our lives filled with troubles. We may not be able to have a wonderful time like this for a long time. I felt like my heart was crushing with sadness. I hugged him tightly. He also put his hands around me and hugged me back. Letting water runs down our naked bodies, we spent some quiet time under the shower. Though we didn't utter even a word, I am sure that both of us had a lot of things going on in our minds. After that, we came back to the room and got dressed. When I combed my hair and turned around, Jake was staring at the bed. I followed his eyes to see the red patch on the white sheets. I felt a shiver ran down my spine. That is my pureness. All the wealth I had as a girl to give him. Then his eyes shifted to me. Those eyes were filled with tears. His whole face has turned red. There are no words to explain how much I love you, my princess. You have trusted me to give me everything you had, he said emotionally. His eyes moved to the red patch on the sheets once again. Now you are not just my girlfriend. We are engaged. You are mine from all the possible ways. I promise to protect you and keep you happy until my last breath, he cuddled me to his chest and said. Without saying anything, I let myself embrace his warmth. When girls talked about how amazing it is to have sex and how free they feel after losing their virginity, I always wanted to serve myself for the right person. I felt so happy and relieved because I found that right person. Who deserves to receive everything I saved for him. After a few minutes, we both went downstairs. Good morning, lovebirds, I was startled with a familiar voice came from the living room. What you are doing here? Jake asked in a surprised voice from smiling Luke, who was standing in front of us. I also got really shocked and embarrassed at the same time. Was he here the whole night? What if he heard us? I am sure we were quite noisy last night. See, Sarah. How selfish is this man? After taking all the support from me, now he is asking what am I doing in my own house, Luke said with a fit of fake anger. I just asked because you said you are spending the night at your cousin's house, Jake said, smiling. If I spent the night relaxing at my cousin's house, you two won't have such a wonderful night after all, Luke replied, winking at me. What you mean? Jake asked. I will tell you, but before that tell me you did it, Luke said. Did what? I asked, turning red. I know you did something else too, sweetheart. But I am asking about this engagement thing, Luke said, laughing. God! What an embarrassment! Why you couldn't keep your stupid mouth shut, Sarah? Yeah. We did that, Jake said, laughing and showing Luke the ring on his finger. finally. My congratulations. Luke hugged Jake and wished him. Congratulations, Sarah. I don't even have words to say how happy I am. He then hugged me. I felt sad about Luke. He loves Jake with his life. Now when he knows that Jake got engaged and probably had sex with a girl for the first time, he can still smile with all his heart and wish us. Can there be more selfless love than this? Without expecting anything in return from Jake, he loves him and does everything for him. Now tell us, what did you mean earlier? Jake asked. Ah, that, Luke said. His face turned to a serious mood. Yesterday night, I felt like I should come to this area and checked a bit. I don't really know why I felt like that. But now I am so glad I follow my instincts. What is he trying to say? I saw Andrew's car was parked near the house, he said. What? Andrew's car? Jake asked, panicked. What Mr. Patterson was doing here? Andrew was right in front of the gate. I stopped the car in front of the gate and talked to him. I asked him, what is he doing here? You don't know how much panicked he got after seeing me. I think he couldn't find any reason to give me. He just said that he heard I came back, and he wanted to meet me. I could understand he was just lying. Then why he really came here? I asked. I think he followed you here, Luke said. What? Followed me, but why? Because he loves you, and he doesn't want you anywhere near Jake, Luke said in an indifferent voice. He loves me, that's impossible, I said, looking at Jake for his opinion. Luke is right, Sarah. Everything he does not just because he hates me. He does them because he loves you, and he knows that taking you away from me is the best way to get revenge from me. He wants to kill two birds with one stone, Jake said. Getting revenge from Jake, that I can understand, but I couldn't even believe he has feelings for me. How are you so sure? I asked. Sarah, I am a guy too. I can sense it from the way he looks at you. I felt this strongly on that night at the party, Jake said. So what happened after that? Jake then asked Luke. He said he wanted to talk to me, so I asked him to go for dinner with me, Luke replied, laughing. Dinner? Jake asked. Yes, I can't invite him to my house because I have rented out for 2 lovebirds, no? So I invited him for dinner, without disturbing you both, Luke said, laughing. So he agreed? Jake asked. Do you think he agreed that easily? Luke asked. Then, both I and Jake asked at the same time. He said he doesn't need much time, so we can go inside and have a talk, Luke said, laughing. So, I asked nervously. I said to him firmly that I am hungry and if he wants to talk with me, he can come for dinner. Then he said it is nothing important, and asked me to go for dinner. He said we can have the discussion sometime later, Luke said, looking at both of us. He wanted to get in and see what's happening, isn't it? Jake asked. Yes, that's what he wanted. I could understand that. So, I was not ready to let him interrupt your sweet moment, Luke said, winking at both of us. I was thinking what I can do to make him go. Then I remembered about the call that gave me when I was at the hospital. So, I directly accused him of putting my life in danger. I asked him what was his intention for doing that. What did he say? I asked sharply, remembering how Mr. Patterson made me accept his request. He intentionally put Luke's life in danger to make me weak and accept his request. He said he had no hidden intention. He just wanted to let me know what happened. Luke said. Bullsh-t. I yelled furiously. He deliberately did that. He is the one behind all the troubles Jake and other guys had to go through. I yelled. What? What do you mean? Jake asked. He called me after you all got suspended. He said I have a chance of saving you all. If I agree to do something he requests, he would call off all the punishments you guys got. I said. I felt really bad about hiding all these from these two. What? You never told me about that. Jake said. I don't know if he is angry or he is disappointed because I covered it from him. First, I didn't care about what he told, Jake. I totally ignored that. I didn't want to make you worried as well. So I didn't tell you anything. I said sadly, looking at Jake. He didn't say anything, but his eyes clearly showed he got hurt. Then Luke's condition got worse again and you had to go there. On that day, he asked me to meet him. Then he said, how all of your lives are in danger and how your future will be ruined if that punishment further stands. He asked me to listen to his request first and then decide. I thought there is no harm in listening to his request, after all. I said, looking at both of them. They both were staring at me, but with different expressions on their faces. Luke with a confused expression, and my Jake with sadness and disappointment. His request was, he asked you to come to my dad's birthday party with him, didn't he? Jake asked, interrupting me. I looked at him with shock. Then I nodded. I knew, you wouldn't go with him to a party unless you had some clear reason, he replied. He didn't tell me it was your dad's party or anything. I didn't know anything about the party. He said he will fulfill his part of the agreement first, so I can trust him. I explained to them briefly what happened after that with Mr. Patterson. That rascal! Luke cursed. I can't understand why he took me there. He could just tell me all of these, but he put an extraordinary effort into this. I said. He knew you won't believe any of this otherwise. Getting to know all of this suddenly can shake anyone. He wanted to take advantage of it. Jake said thoughtfully. He is so stupid to even think this could crush the relationship you two have. After all, I doubt he knows anything about love, Luke said. Honestly speaking, there was a high possibility of him getting success. I hid so many things from you, Sarah. What you had to experience in a totally unexpected way was too much for any girl. If you acted stubbornly and refused to listen to me at all, then we will never be able to solve this issue. But you behaved matured, you gave me a chance to explain, Jake said in a heavy voice. I didn't behave matured, Jake. I just couldn't lose you, that's why I wanted to give you a chance to explain everything. I said. However, all these troubles happened because I hid things. I promise you, Sarah. I will never keep any secrets from you. Please don't keep any secrets from me as well. Please don't accept anything that jerk tells you. If he ever tries to even talk to you something related to this, please let me or Luke know. Jake said, taking my hand and holding it against his heart. I promise you the same, Jake. I promised him. So Luke, what happened with Andrew after that? Jake asked Luke. I was actually scolding him for playing with my life. I was furious with him anyway for taking Sarah to your party and creating all these problems. If I knew what Sarah just told us, I would surely end up getting into a physical fight with him. Luke said angrily. However, our talk was getting pretty intense when Shane came there. Shane, both me and Jake said at the same time. Yes. Shane. His car stopped in front of us. However, his arrival stopped our argument, and finally, 3 of us went for dinner. I could add some sleeping tablets to Andrew's drink, Luke added. What? Where you got them? I asked with surprise. Well, don't forget I am still a patient who hasn't fully recovered. I had my medicine with me, Luke said with a crooked smile. So, I asked. This is getting pretty interesting, isn't it? Almost like a movie. After that, he got really sleepy and we took him home. I knew I didn't have to worry about him for a few hours. That was a relief. But I was exhausted and in need of a place to sleep because my house was taken by 2 lovebirds, Luke said, laughing. So where you stayed last night? You could have just called me, Luke. You shouldn't have gone through all these troubles. What if you get sick once again? Jake asked. Even if I get sick, I will be happy because I didn't disturb you too, Luke said, laughing again. But Luke, Jake was trying to say. Don't worry, Jake. Now I feel really refreshed. Shane took me to his house and took care of me. Luke said. What? He took you there? Jake asked in a shocking voice. He surely did, Jake. He loves your friend so much. Yes. He took me there. Now, it is already 8 in the morning, Jake. Aren't you going? Luke asked. I don't know why, but I felt Luke deliberately changed the topic. Oh, God. Yes. I have to go. I am too late, Jake said in a hurry. Then he made a call to Clark to come and pick him up. After bidding farewell to both of us, Jake got ready to go. When he hugged me just before he leaves, without even knowing, I broke into cries. I knew he is going to be away for just a few days. But I felt it impossible to stay away from him after what we shared last night. Don't cry, my princess. Soon all of these would be over, and I will stay by your side every second. He had to put a lot of effort to soothe me. Finally, Luke had to hold crying me, letting Jake leave us. Luke let me cry enough, cuddling to him. My vocabulary is not rich enough to express how grateful I am to have someone like Luke in my life. One time he is a friend, then he is a brother, the next moment he is my guardian angel. If he was not with us, I and Jake would never be able to come this far. He is making our love much more powerful. I want you to find your happiness, Luke. First, I had doubts if my brother could give you the love and care you deserve. But with everything happening now, all my doubts are gone away. If there is someone who can love you unconditionally and make any sacrifice for you, that would be my brother. Luke's POV. After dropping Sarah to her house, I came home. I felt like going inside her house and meet Shane once again, but then I decided I should not. There was a lot I had to think and process. For the whole time I knew Shane, he was nothing but a pain in. Indeed, I give him the credit for being the cleverest goalkeeper I have ever played with. But other than that, I had nothing to praise him for. He always thought so highly of him, he didn't care about anyone else, or he didn't care about almost anyone. Because to be honest, I felt like he always showed some respect towards me and Jake. However, his lifestyle was so sickening and a total mess. I spent considerable time hanging out with him and his filthy gang. So I knew everything about him. They took alcohol, they did drugs, and girls were like just toys for them. Especially for Shane. He is indeed a good-looking guy, so girls were ready to sleep with him at any time. He took all the benefits of it. I think he had relationships with more than half of the girls in the university. I don't know even he can remember how many girls he slept with. He didn't forget to brag about it as well. But more than any of that, which made me truly hate him, was how he treated Sarah, his own sister. There were many days, Sarah had to run away crying and getting humiliated. I couldn't actually stand any of those. There were many times I wanted to punch him on the face. He was such a cruel monster. But now, the way he behaves is totally different. I don't really remember when and where he changed. But I never expected he would change like this. I recalled a dialogue we had when we were in his room last night. His room walls were filled with half-naked women and football players. I was in a pretty good mood after putting Andrew to sleep, so I just laughed and said, "Covered your wall with your favorites, what?" he asked in a panicked voice. "Naked girls and football," I again said, laughing. He kept staring at me for a few seconds, and then he stood up and ripped out all the posters of half-naked girls. "Shane! What are you doing? Are you mad?" I yelled at him. But he didn't stop until he finishes with the last poster. Then he sat on the bed beside me, releasing a long sigh. "Are you mad?" I asked. "I was mad, but I am not now," he said in an indifferent voice. "Why you tore away all those?" I asked with unbearable curiosity. "Because I don't like them," he said in the same tone. That made me laugh. "Why you laugh?" he asked, looking at me. "That's the funniest joke I ever heard. You who sleep with every girl comes in your way say you don't like naked girls," I said, laughing. "I said I don't like them. I didn't say I didn't like them," he said. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I can't even remember the last day I slept with a girl. How can that be true?" He is infamous about his sex life. Everyone knows he can't even spend a day without having sex. "Why, what happened? What made you away from that?" "My preferences are changed," he said in a casual voice, but his eyes looked utterly serious, and they were directly focused on mine. "What?" I asked. "I don't like girls anymore, Luke. I am gay," he said, making my heart stop for a second. Chapter 92, Luke's POV. "What?" I said involuntarily. I couldn't even believe what I heard. How could I believe it when I exactly knew the relationships he had with girls? How a person can change his preference that instantly. For my whole life, I had no interest in girls. No matter how hard I tried to have a relationship with a girl, all those efforts went in vain. But he certainly had a girlfriend even a few months back. "Hard to even believe, right?" he asked with a smile on his lips. I didn't say anything, I just stared at him with a startled look. "I know what you are thinking, Luke. You think how a person can change his sexuality this quickly, don't you?" he asked. "Well, to be honest, yes," I said. "Even I am not sure about that either, Luke. I am still confounded. Maybe I am not fully gay, I am bi," he said. Yes, that is possible. He was interested in girls for the whole life, and there is a chance of his growing feelings towards guys. Maybe after meeting someone special. There is another possibility as well, then he said, looking at me. "What? Maybe I am gay since I was born, and I was just pretending like I am not. I had so many relationships with girls just to hide the fact that I want to be with guys," he said. I didn't know what to say. This was the case with me. I also tried to do what he just said. But I didn't go that far as him. I couldn't make up my mind to be with girls as he did. Certainly, some guys even marry women, hiding their true sexuality. I released a sigh. Anyway, it felt really odd that Shane decided to share something this personal with me. We never had any personal discussions like this for the whole time I knew him. I didn't even know that he trusted me this much to let me know his secrets. After all, I know how hard it is to reveal your sexuality with someone. I had done it twice. Both times, I felt like I was suffocating. I was afraid of what they will think about me afterward, though they were the closest people in my life. For Shane, it must be even harder because we don't have such a close friendship as well. Luke, Shane said as I was silent. Yes, you disgust me, he asked sadly. What? For being gay? Never. That is not something to disgust a person, Shane, everyone has their own preferences. I don't give a sh*t about a person's private preferences until they behave like human beings, Shane. But a person's immoral behavior indeed makes me disgust about him. I said, looking carefully at his face. Just as I thought, his face changed. His face got clouded with sadness and pain. I think he understood what I was about to say. I don't care about all the other things you did, including sleeping with every girl you wanted, taking drugs, and getting into fights. I disgust you for treating your sister badly, Shane, I said. Without saying anything, he looked away from me. His gaze was blankly focused on the white wall. I know what I did was cruel, he said after a long stillness. But I am ready to change, Luke. I want to change everything. I want to be a different man, he then said. Well, I have already sensed that he is changing in a good direction. But hearing it from his own words made it different. You are the only one who knows the truth about me, other than Sarah, he then said, making me even shocked. I never thought he would share this kind of secret with Sarah. When these two got that close. On the other hand, Glenn and Bob are his best friends, right? So why he thought of sharing it with me before he shares it with them? I have no intention of sharing this with anyone else. I truly hope you would help me make this change in my life, he said, looking right into my eyes. Like he was trying to read my thoughts from my eyes. He was so close to me. I could even feel the warmth of his breath. When did he get this close to me? I didn't even notice. I didn't want to at least be in his gang because I truly disgust him. But at that moment, after everything he shared with me, his closeness didn't make me feel disgusted. Instead, it made me feel something strange. A feeling that I couldn't explain. I felt it was difficult to look into his eyes anymore. It was like I was afraid that he would find out all my secrets looking into my eyes. Yes, I would help you, Shane, I said in a hurry and stood up from where I was sitting. Only God knows how much I was tempted at that moment to tell him that I am gay too. I don't even know why I felt like that. Everything about him has started to feel strange. Andrew Patterson's POV. I woke up with a severe headache. My head was so close to exploding. I was in my room and on my bed. But I didn't remember how I came here. The last thing I could remember was having dinner and a drink with Luke and Shane. What really happened after that? I tried to think, but it just made my head ache worse. Where is my phone? I usually keep it on my bedside cupboard, but it was not there. I got up from the bed, searching for my phone. It was on my reading table. I didn't feel strong enough to even stand up. Pulling out a chair, I sat and took a call to Luke. Good morning, Mr. Patterson, Luke's voice raised from the other side. Luke, how I ended up in my home last night? I asked without bothering to greet him. We took you home last night, Mr. Patterson. You got pretty drunk, can't you remember? He chuckled. What? I got drunk? That is impossible. I know my limits. I snarled. We tried to stop you from getting drunk. But you were quite upset about something, he said. Yes, of course. I was upset thinking about my little angel. But I couldn't believe I got drunk until I don't remember anything. That is not my nature. Are you feeling all right now, Mr. Patterson? He asked, breaking my thoughts. Yeah. I am okay. Thank you for taking me home without even waiting for him to reply. I cut the call. I have to find out how I got that much drunk last night, but that is for later. Now I have to check Sarah. God knows what happened yesterday. I dialed her number. Thank God her phone is working. But she didn't answer. I tried calling her again and again. But no answer. I couldn't understand what should I do now. I feel like throwing up too. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. All my internal organs were like trying to come out. I haven't felt this sick for a long time now. However, after vomiting, I felt a bit okay. I took a wash and changed clothing. Then prepared some sandwiches. I tried calling Sarah a few more times while I was eating, but she didn't answer. My heart was aching thinking about her. What that rascal has done to my little angel. She is all I have. I can't afford to lose her. I took a call to Shane. Where is Sarah? I asked as soon as he answered the phone. She is in her room, he replied. He clearly sounds shocked. But I didn't care about that. I cut the call without waiting any more. At least now I know she is safe at her home. But that's not enough. I must know what has happened to her. I must talk to her. I can't wait till she comes to university as well. After having breakfast, I felt strong enough to go out. I drove to her house and rang the bell. It was Shane who opened the door. Mr. Patterson, Shane looked surprised. Shane. I want to see Sarah, I said. Okay. Come in, Mr. Patterson. Take a seat. I will ask her to come, he said, pointing me the sofa. I walked in and took a seat. This is the first time I came to her house. My future wife's house. It is a small but clean house. I wonder how much memories she has in this tiny house. I am sure most of those memories are not sweet memories. I know that she suffered a lot inside these walls, but it won't be like that in the future. I am going to give her all the happiness and luxuries in this world. After a few minutes, she came down with Shane. She looked shocked to see me at her house. But her face was glowing with happiness. I haven't seen her look this happy for a long time. It is not the usual glow you can see on a girl's face, it is different. I have seen this glow on my little Lily's face too. It is a glow you can see on a girl's face after she had a wonderful. Well, I am afraid to even think about that. Did she really do that with him? No. That cannot happen. She is mine. She cannot just have sex with someone else. It should be me, just me. My heart was thumping like crazy. I clenched my palms with unbearable anger and pain. Jake, I am going to kill you if you have done something to my angel. Mr. Patterson, why are you here? She asked, walking towards me. Shane was also coming from her behind. Why didn't you answer your phone? How many times did I call you? I asked angrily. I was sleeping, she answered indifferently. Sleeping? Why are you not well? I asked. No, I am doing really well. I couldn't get much sleep last night. Did her cheeks got blushed as she speaks? Why is that? I asked with an aching heart. Well, it is none of your business, Mr. Patterson, she said without any hesitation. This is not the first time she talked to me like this, but this time it felt like she stabbed me right into my heart. It was so hard to gather up the courage to speak. I want to talk to you, I said. We are talking, she said. No. In private, I said, looking at Shane. He was just staring at me without moving a bit from where he was. Can we go somewhere and talk, please? I asked. I can't go anywhere, Mr. Patterson, she said firmly. She has changed a lot. My little angel has gone so far from me, I can feel that. Can you give me a minute to talk with your sister privately? I asked Shane. My voice was shaking, and it was more like I was begging in front of him. I hate being this helpless in front of anyone, but for you, I can do anything, my angel. Without saying anything, he looked at his sister like he was asking her what he should do. When did he become this protective over his sister? Didn't he tell me he hates his sister with all he has? However, finally, Sarah nodded her head slightly, letting Shane know that it is okay to leave the living room. Chapter 93, Sarah's POV. I didn't want to talk with him at all, that's the reason I didn't even answer his calls. When Shane woke me up and said he is here, I was actually shocked. Who knew he would come here if I didn't answer his stupid calls? If I knew, I would have answered them. He said he wanted to talk to me in private and asked me if I can go out with him. I will never ever go out with him. God knows what he wants now. Hasn't he created enough problems for us already? When I refused to go out, he more or less begged Shane to give him some time to talk with me in private. Shane was behind me all this time and he clearly looked like he didn't want to let Mr. Patterson talk to me in private. But I nodded him it is okay because I knew Mr. Patterson wouldn't leave until he got a chance to talk to me. I just needed to get rid of him as soon as possible. I didn't even want to be near him. Sarah. Please sit. After Shane left, Mr. Patterson told me, pointing the space beside him. I sat on a chair in front of him. I didn't want to sit beside him. He released a sigh and kept staring at my face for some time. His eyes were filled with sorrow. What do you want to talk with me, Mr. Patterson? I asked. Where were you yesterday night, Sarah? He asked, looking right into my eyes. It is none of your business, Mr. Patterson, I replied quickly. I felt furious. He exactly knew where I was last night. So what he expects from asking it again? Don't get angry, Sarah. You know how much I am concerned about you, that's why I am asking, he said worriedly. Thank you very much for your concern, Mr. Patterson. But where I was yesterday is my private affair. I said firmly. You met him, didn't you? Then he asked after a pause. Who? I asked casually. You know who, he said in a bit angry voice. How dare he asking me about my personal life and getting angry when I don't want to discuss it? Yes, I met him, Mr. Patterson. Why is that any of your concerns? I asked, trying my best to stay controlled. You exactly know why I concern about that, Sarah. You witnessed how he betrayed you in front of everyone, agreeing to marry a girl from a powerful family. Did he even mention anything about his family with you? Did he at least give you a hint that he has to get engaged to another girl? If I didn't take you to that party, you don't still know any of these and you will live in darkness forever. Why do you think he hid all these from you? To protect you. That's all bullshit, Sarah. He wanted to marry a girl from a rich and powerful family and keep you as his mistress. Mr. Patterson. I yelled. How dare you talk about my Jake like this? I was shaking with anger. I couldn't even find words to direct my anger towards him. Nothing gets changed even if you screamed at me, Sarah. He is lying to you. He knows how much you love him and he is taking advantage of it. You know nothing about rich and powerful guys like him, they all are the same. For them, girls like you are just toys, nothing more, he said. That's true, Mr. Patterson. I don't know anything about rich and powerful guys, including you. But I do know about my Jake. I don't have any doubts about how much he loves me. Can you remember how he just ignored you even after you got to know everything? Why didn't he come to you and explain to you everything if he loves you so much? If I was not with you at that moment, can you even imagine what could have happened? You got a panicked attack, Sarah. You couldn't even breathe. If I didn't protect you, you could have even died. All those are just because of him, he was yelling at me. Listen, Mr. Patterson. You don't have to remind me what happened on that day, I distinctly remember everything. I am so glad and thankful that you were with me. I am grateful to you for saving my life and staying with me. I am not saying everything Jake did was right. He should have told me everything much earlier. But I believe he has fair reasons for everything. I said in the best possible neutral voice. He had fair reasons, my foot. What is the fair reason he had for not coming after you when he clearly knew how shocked and upset you were? He asked. His dad again got a heart attack and was hospitalized. I don't expect him to run after me in a situation like that. Loving someone doesn't mean you have to even leave your parents at a critical time. I said. He has totally brainwashed you. You are under his spell now. You are not ready to accept any of his faults, he said. He doesn't have to do any spell on me, Mr. Patterson. I love him with my life and I trust him with my life. I said. You are not loving him, Sarah. You are just obsessed with him. You can't see anything right. Try to wake up and see things as it is. Try to recall what happened at that party in front of everyone. He is going to marry Marina. You will be his mistress, nothing more, he yelled at me. Without saying anything, I stared at him. I was burning inside with rage. Until now, I tried to speak nicely, but it seems like he doesn't deserve it. Mr. Patterson. This is enough. I was patient this whole time and endured all the bullshit. You talk just because you helped me that day. But don't you ever think I am not aware of your hidden agenda? You took me there intentionally to put me through a mental breakdown. I screamed at him. Yes. I took you purposefully, knowing what will happen there. But I did that not to put you in a mental breakdown, but just to take you out of the darkness and open your eyes, he said. If you just wanted to let me know the truth, you didn't have to take me there. You could have just told me everything, or asked Jake to tell me the truth. But what you wanted to do was break my heart. You thought I would hate Jake forever. But our love is much more strong than you can ever imagine, Mr. Patterson. I said firmly. You did that with him, right, Sarah? He then asked, making me completely astounded. What is he asking about? What? You had sex with him, right? That's how he changes you. Do you think having sex one night means having a strong love? You know nothing about love, Sarah, Mr. Patterson. I screamed at him while standing up. Yes. I had sex with him. For the first time in my life, I gave everything to him. I don't love him because I had amazing lovemaking with him, I made love with him because I love him. I managed to say, though my whole body was shaking. He also stood up. He was staring at me, with wide eyes. His face looked all crushed. But I don't care. Now get out of my house. I don't even want to see you anymore. I yelled. Sarah, his voice was so close to a cry. Please listen to me. I am truly concerned about you. He tried to hold my hand and talked. I shook his hand off me. God! I disgust this man. Get out! I yelled again. Sarah, he tried to talk again. Mr. Patterson, at the same time, Shane's voice raised behind us. I think my sister clearly asked you to go, he said in a firm voice, making both me and Mr. Patterson startled. Shane, I need, Mr. Patterson tried to say. Please, Mr. Patterson. I don't think she needs to talk with you anymore. Shane said, interrupting him. Sarah. Go to your room. Shane then asked me. I was utterly surprised by Shane's reaction to this incident. However, I ran to my room without even looking at Mr. Patterson again. Shane's POV. I wanted to punch that rascal. I wanted to make his face flat. But I controlled all my anger to the maximum. I shut the door after him and tried to make my breath steady. I couldn't even believe what I was feeling now. A few days back, I wanted to hurt her more than anything. I bullied her in every chance I got. I knew a lot of people hurt her just to make me happy or to impress me. But I didn't try to stop them, instead, I encouraged them to bully her. But today, I wanted to protect her. I wanted to protect my sister. I assumed there is something between Sarah and Jake. Today, I got to know they are truly in love. Not just in love, it seems like they share a special bond. I know Jake for a long time now. He is one of the people I truly respect. He is indeed a gentleman. I have no doubts that he will keep my sister happy. What I can't understand is what is the deal with this Mr. Patterson. Why he comes after Sarah this much? From the beginning, he showed interest in her. Is he in love with her? Well, I don't like that at all. If he tries to come between Sarah and Jake, I will see. Anyway, that's for the later. Now I have something else to do. I have to finish what I started last night. Luke's POV. I was on the bed the whole day after I came from Sarah's. Yesterday was such a busy day, and my body really deserved a relaxing time. Jake called me after he got there. His dad seems to get better now, that's a relief. Now Sarah is also happy, and she knows everything. I feel like a lot of the problems I had were solved in a short period. So I can actually put my mind also into the rest. The only thing that disturbed my peace of mind was Shane. I couldn't take my mind off from how he talked with me last night. I couldn't stop recalling everything that has happened between us since the beginning. What are these strange feelings I get for him? Am I growing feelings towards him? No, that can never happen. My whole mind and soul are entirely occupied by Jake. Though I have zero chance of being with him, I can't give that space to anyone else. When I was arguing with myself like this, I heard the doorbell ring. Who is that? I got down from the bed and went to the door. Shane. I was shocked, and at the same time happy to see smiling Shane in front of my front door. I cooked you some soup, he said, showing me a bowl in his hand. Don't know why, but at that moment he looked handsome than ever. The rest of the audiobooks will be uploaded in the next episode. Join us on Patreon to listen to more unlimited audiobooks.